Welcome to TIA Talks. My name is Jason, your host, and today I've got very special guests with me. I've got Gary and Tristan. Guys, welcome. I'm really looking forward to this episode because we've got some fun topics to chat about. And I've only met Gary 5 minutes ago. And he's already changed my life. So Gary, I think I'm going to start with you. I just want to know kind of, for everyone that's listening, what you do, how you fit into this whole insurance world. For everyone that doesn't know, we are now sponsored by Sapiens. Our coffee is sponsored by them. And now, just to be clear, we made sure we had to be clear. But I just wanted to mention that because Sapiens is in the insurance industry. It's in the insurance space globally. And you guys are doing amazing stuff, which I just found out something crazy that I can't wait. Watch until the end of this episode because it's going to literally blow your mind.
No pressure.
No pressure. If you're a broker in the industry, please just hold your horses. Don't go anywhere. Okay, so Gary.
So look, my name is Gary Tessendorf. I look after the sub-Saharan region from a Sapiens perspective. For those of you that don't know, Sapiens is an international vendor focusing only on the insurance space. That's all we do. All right. Give or take 42 years in the business, 5,500 staff, 600 customers globally. I was their first staff member in South Africa.
Hold on, if there's 5,500 staff.
Yes.
And you only sponsor the coffee.
We start somewhere.
Okay. Okay, sorry, continue, please.
And the mug. Don't forget the mug.
Oh my goodness.
No, we start small. This
is going to be a long episode.
It's going to be amazing. No, but look, that's what we focus on insurance verticals and the like. So literally from life, wealth, retirement to obviously to short-term insurance and the like, digital data, all the cloud aspects, and obviously the AI-led conversations at the moment as well, which is why we're here today. Yeah. But we are front and center. All right. As an example of a level that we're working at, we've been selected by Microsoft globally as the only insurance vendor operating outside of the US to work on the AI programs.
Wow.
That's level.
Big.
This is big.
It's
big. It's a game changer. Make no mistake, that's a game changer. All right. Wow. So
do you need a broker?
We'll sell you a system.
Oh, it's okay. It's quid pro quo. What's the Latin word?
Tristan. There we go.
Quid pro quo.
There we go. Okay. Speaking of Latin, we've got Tristan, who's a legal expert. Tristan, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Tell me a little bit about yourself and what you do in this industry that we so love.
Sure, no problem. So I'm Tristan Marot. I'm an associate at Norton Rose Fulbright. I host two caps at Norton Rose because on the one hand, I sit in our insurance advisory team, which is where we advise insurers on a variety of their different legal issues, whether that's how to design policy wordings, whether it's coverage opinions, defense when insureds start suing the insurers, or recovery when there's big incidents and we need to do recovery. We'll kind of do the whole gambit of legal needs that insurers might have. But then I also sit on the other side and internally where I sit on our AI team. So I sit both on our global AI management committee as well as our South African regional task force. And there we're responsible for all of the AI investments that the firm is making. So what tools we buy, what we develop, how we roll it out, what policies we put in place to govern that usage, all of that. As well as then the evolving side of that is the advisory to clients on kind of similar roles. So what they're doing with AI, how they do it responsibly, safely, and within kind of the various regulatory regimes that they fall under.
Yeah, and Tristan also is my WhatsApp attorney. So every now and then
I get a voice note from Jason and it goes, so we have this incident. And I have to start it off with, I cannot answer that question for you because they're clients. But hypothetically.
Yeah, okay, we're not going to speak further
about your balls in the mail.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like Norton Rose Fulbright, please do not send me an invoice. I know that you guys are a great firm, but please do not come near me. Okay, great. So I wanted to actually start off the conversation just with a little bit of a kind of an icebreaker question, really, because we talk about AI and we talk about technology, and it's becoming a little bit of like a boring topic, in my opinion, because it's so heavily spoken about. And the way in which it's spoken about is exactly the same. So I want to ask you, what technology has impacted you the most in the last year and changed your life in some way, shape, or form? I don't know who wants to go first and take a crack at it. Tristan.
Define technology.
Yeah. So maybe not just AI, maybe some sort of platform, maybe some sort of system, even a way of sorting out a workflow or process, that you've automated in some way, shape, or form. Whatever that may be, if it's impacted your life and made it a bit better. I know a friend of mine, he spent 4,500 Rand on a robot vacuum cleaner. And I didn't know, firstly, that was a thing. And secondly, I didn't know that was so expensive. And
That's one of the cheaper models.
is it one of the cheaper ones? Oh, my word.
It can go up to like 15 grand.
they
It's
go.
Oh,
insane.
man. Okay, so when I say technology, I mean that too. So like for me, it's the wireless charging pad in my car. It's changed my life. I don't have to take a cable anywhere, So Tristan, what
It's
did you
funny
say?
you say that because I've now got I was gifted by one of our vendors a mouse pad that has like an integrated wireless charging
Nice.
Oh, cool.
pad in it. And it's really impacted like how often I charge, especially my work phone, because I'm not on my work phone consistently as much as some people maybe wish I was.
Yeah, I wish you were.
Just having my phone sitting on the desk really does actually impact it quite a bit. The simple answer for me is quite broadly AI, because it's literally changed the role within the firm that I've done over the last 18 months.
Okay, fair enough.
Good comment.
The kind of work that I do has, I'm now still very much client facing, but I now do a bunch of strategy and operations work internally that, normally would not be the purview of kind of our fee earners and that's been really interesting, trying to figure out how. I made this joke to our CEO the other day that our AI team almost has more impact over what the firm is going to look like in the next 5 years than necessarily our executive team.
We have the same. We have exactly the same. We have exactly the same concern.
But and if you think about what a legal workflow is, it makes a lot of sense, because the legal workflows, for the most part, are where you get a query in from a client, or if you're a junior, from one of your kind of seniors in the firm, and you then go and you look at the knowledge sources that we have, whether that's case law, legislation, reference works, our internal precedent banks, whatever it might be. You're going, you're reviewing all of those, you're compiling that into kind of a memo and response, and you're sending that back out. That exact workflow.
ChatGPT.
Not ChatGPT.
Okay.
But
It's
it
similar.
is very,
That's similar.
it's very set up for AI-enabled workflows,
Yeah.
right? Whether that's large language models or whether that's some of the kind of the other systems that you might have in place. It's perfect for the implementation of AI. The difficulty is that the threshold for accuracy is so high in especially a large commercial firm like ours, because we're not dealing with a
one
couple
mistake.
thousand rand, and so
You're not just getting dear, so
No,
it's
no.
trust you are well.
Copy paste.
So trying to get tools that help fee earners, as well as then teach them how to use them, is a massive impact. But yeah, so that's, I think, I know it's
changed
not
your whole life.
I know it's not the answer you wanted in terms of like a specificity.
Yeah.
But
No, but
in
that's good.
general, it's completely changed.
Yeah, no, I think just in general, like having AI as a thing, I think we are in a bit of a revolution, to be honest. And it's not
Not
like
bit,
the
we
tech.
are. We
Yeah,
are.
it's the AI revolution, really.
happening.
And I don't think we've actually touched AI necessarily, like proper artificial intelligence. We just have research, like resources waiting for us to pull some info, or like it's just fancy Google, in my opinion, but it helps me a lot. I can do this, I can tell you. It gave me the next question. No, I'm just kidding. Gary, tell me about the tech that maybe has changed your life. Anything other
Personally, or can I talk more from a corporate perspective? What do you think?
corporate, let's go.
Okay, let's go
Yeah.
corporate. All right, so
Well, what personally would have just...
look, you just said it, ChatGPT.
Okay,
Right, you can imagine how much time I spend in meetings all day every day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fact is having to go back and try and understand my writing on an ongoing basis is becoming a topic. Okay, it's becoming a topic. But using ChatGPT, meeting notes, meeting summaries, it sounds simple, but it makes a massive impact.
Yeah.
And that's just in your daily life. We're not talking, huge. If I think about how much time and effort is saved by just actually putting it through the language models and the like, putting back the meeting notes, action items, it sounds something small. It is a game changer. And we're just, like you said, starting to scratch the surface.
Yeah.
We don't even really understand the full impact. I think if we all overestimate at the moment what's coming down the pipeline in a couple of years, I don't even think we've actually thought that far ahead personally.
Oh, I'm not scared.
No, I'm not scared at all. The exact opposite. I'm
Yeah.
actually-
I am. That's why I say please and thank you on ChatGPT. because if they take over, I've at least said please and thank you. You know, I'm like, cool. Please, will you write me this email? It's not just write an email.
I was listening to my group head of strategy, and we build systems now, right? IT systems. So you can imagine, very formulaic. Here's a screen, etc., etc. And he said, just putting it out there in 5 years' time, what could it look like? You log onto a blank screen, and you say and you talk, and the system interprets, and it gives it back to you based on blank screen. Okay,
Wow.
you just that's some level of thinking as to where potentially is. I get you.
It makes me think of like that series Black Mirror on Netflix.
Well, there's a number of the episodes that are AI episodes of Black Mirror.
Yeah, and it freaks me out. I mean, I can't binge that series because it's so scary. Like, I have to watch one like a week.
There's a new season coming out. by the way.
Enough about it. Watch the next episode of TAA Talks. That's even more important. Okay, Gary, what's happening on the corporate space now?
Oh, okay. So very exciting for us. All right. Globally, from a Sapiens perspective, our short-term insurance team, obviously working with the Microsoft team and the like, have put together what an SME product set.
Oh.
Now, essentially, we all know SME commercial. It's a really good product set. We know locally it's got a lot of traction, but it's tedious, it's boring, it's long-winded. It's the same formulaic approach.
Wait, so for our listeners that don't know what the SME and commercial space is, that's pretty much you've got insurance, which is car and home. That's the personal insurance. Then you have everything else, which is commercial and corporate and everything else. And now we're just focusing on the smaller businesses, and there's some platforms and tech now available for that.
So can you imagine, instead of spending 25, 30, 40 minutes on a phone call to your broker, going through the same... Of course you can. The same tedious process every single time. I've got a long form to fill out, or I'm on the phone going through the form.
Do you have burglar bars?
Yes.
Who is your security company?
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you have a right, strike, whatever? When was the last flooding you had? All the standard stuff. All right. Imagine condensing that entire 40-minute conversation to 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 minutes, depending, where the AI-led models are being led and fed by your answers and responses real time, live, pulling on the third-party data sets to call in whatever is relevant in your space.
Like
so,
what?
well, as an example, let's go with the standard Q&A session.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my form. All right, I don't have employees. I don't need to answer the question set about employee liability, as an example.
Yeah.
That's a very simple decision tree, all right? But that takes 5 minutes off your application process of having to fill out that piece.
Yeah.
Okay, so that type of engagement, just purely superficial, black and white, yes or no.
And then the AI, does it generate like risk stuff? Or?
So let's type in, okay, I'm a coffee shop owner. I'm in the middle of Melrose, all right? The AI generator, as I'm putting in my corporate name, is validating your name against a database of known companies globally. We're using some of like Swiss Re data sets as an example.
Wow.
We're putting up data sets as to similar companies of your size and stature in the nearby area, risk propensity, all the standard stuff which we know about in South Africa.
So if someone burnt their mouth on a coffee at the coffee shop down the road, had a liability claim, you'd know about it.
We're aware.
But is it doing this off voice conversations now?
It depends. Okay, so you can have the broker. Great question. You could have the broker filling this on your behalf. Okay, or you can actually use voice conversations as well. It's the broker tool we're talking about right now. So this is.
I'm so excited right now. You've just told me about a development. When did this launch, or when are you guys?
About 6 weeks ago, give or take.
6 weeks ago.
We took it to some of our South African customers and prospects in the region. Tested it, trialed
for
it.
example, very large insurers in our space. So when we say clients of Sapiens, it's literally some of the biggest guys in the industry.
Yeah. So we took it to them as a test to see. Just a trial, it wasn't a deep
And
dive. We're not trying to, it was actually amazing. One of the insurers, actually, the room went quiet,
Oh, wow.
dead quiet. And then I saw them nodding and they're like, oh, excuse me, but that's the reality.
I should have a
It has the option to change how we sell.
Yeah.
Giving the tool to the broker on the front end, okay, live data feeds, propensity to spend, lifetime value, all of that on the fly as you're capturing more
Another
data.
thing I can do on the golf course. I cannot
You spent too much time on the golf course already.
No, apparently so. I'm not going to get into that because half my clients listen to the show.
But it's exciting just purely from the fact that it is using the AI-led models with standard processes that you and I would know, but to the benefit of a broker engagement model. All right. So the insurer coming out to market with a tool set that is actually helping add value. That's the difference. That's the bit of the game.
I think for me, this is so you guys didn't ask me about what's changed my life in the last year.
Come on,
but I would say this is going to change my entire life because I find that the commercial space is not really looked at
Yep.
too much in terms of automation and
100%.
stuff. Obviously, on the risk side, guys are looking at technology to do the risk surveys and those type of things. But I mean, I'm so chuffed that there's finally a machine that can actually ask the question, what security gates, or do you have security gates? You know,
Isn't that taking your job though?
no, not at all. No, but that's exactly
It's a great question.
So
It's a
that
really
is a good
approach.
question, and I'm
Okay.
going to answer that. Thank you, thank you for asking. Because as a broker, I find that a lot of my time is taken up by the mundane.
Yes.
And if I can actually sit and give proper advice all day, every day, not only will I be a better professional, but also I'll have the time to give advice, you know, with all this other stuff. So
better
for me,
mundane.
it's just,
Very good.
I'm an advice dude. I hate doing admin. I hate doing the stuff behind the scenes. I'm usually on the golf course when they ask me to do something. I'm just kidding, mom and dad. By mom and dad, I mean my business partners, by the way. Johan Volker, shout out to you guys.
There we go. There we go.
But I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so it's great for advice for me.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to take my job.
So is that kind of the thing? It's taking a lot of the admin around
Exactly.
the placing of the policy
Exactly,
and
yeah.
all of that, and the
Exactly.
risk
Automate.
questionnaires.
Exactly. All right. Taking the time and effort to complete a standard process and making it effective and efficient. That's
It's the low-hanging
Is
fruit.
it selecting products?
No, the product is you. So that's where the voice piece that you're talking about, or the data capture piece in the form. Okay, so I need employee liability tech, then I get the standard question answer set. But then knowing what it's able to pull up from various third-party data sets and the like, it's prompting you already with some of the data questions. So you're a coffee shop. I know we expect you to have employees of 15 to 20 people. It pops it into that. Is this right? Click yes, no. Okay, so those are the types of questions that preempt.
Yeah.
And then knowing the risk profile as well of similar business in the area, this is how we've underwritten them. In this case, building a complete risk profile, not just that on one business piece as well. So adding all these third-party data sets into a live data policy issue process, that's the simplicity behind it. And the data's already here.
Yeah.
The
We're all
data's
using
here.
it.
We're already
anyway.
okay?
Yeah.
But it's not been put into a cohesive model to actually answer the questions to the benefit of any. So
I wish we had this conversation about a year ago, because I would have earned about 1% or 10 on this whole deal, because honestly, this was something I wish was there a year ago when I entered TIA. That's something that was like, I mean, I've built a little client app. I've done all these little things to just try to add value.
Yeah.
And now all the big corporates are doing it anyway. And I don't have to waste my time doing it. You know, so
That's the constant story in AI at the moment. Is people
Perfect.
will start. You know, we saw this when GPT 3.5 is released, right? Or 3 and then 3.5. And people start building all of these apps around like how to put documents in to get it to do like RAG, or so retrieval augmented generation. So where you're pulling information from documents to try and generate. And they design apps around this and all of that. And then OpenAI comes out with GPT-4 and builds all of that straight into the ChatGPT interface, and that wipes out all of those AI startups. And it's the really difficult conversation. I'm kind of curious as to how you guys have now made this decision of when and where to invest as a company, right? Do I go in now and start building out something, and then in 6 months down the line, we get a new frontier model that innately does whatever I've had to build all the infrastructure around to do. And everyone will tell you, oh, well, you need to build the tool with it being model agnostic, so you can kind of drop things in as things develop. And
model
that's great.
agnostic. I love that.
But the difficulty is like it's the infrastructure suddenly becomes irrelevant. And it's,
in a week and a half.
Yeah, and now you've spent potentially hundreds of thousands, if not millions of rands on infrastructure. That's no longer relevant.
So Gary, what do you do?
So, okay, it's actually a very relevant question, all right, because the pace of change, we all know it's getting faster, all right? So what are we doing with the likes of Microsoft and our labs, all right? So the fact is we're embedding AI aspects into all policy administration tooling. So it's not just the policy, the digital front-end capability, obviously the data on the back end. That's one of the aspects of it. But the policy issue, claims, okay, first notification loss, every step in the insurance value chain, looking and working with some of the brightest minds locally as well as internationally. How could we add value in that space there to remove the mundane tasks that you were talking about? The fact is, highly qualified underwriter, should he be capturing whether I have tiles on my roof or it's exactly. Okay,
They should definitely look at the risk.
There we go.
The different part of it.
The risk profiling
Yeah,
piece. Okay,
yeah.
so that's kind of where we see it. But I'd love to say I know the answer, but I don't, because the reality is it's changing.
No
It
one
is
does,
changing.
yeah.
No one does. I mean, if I knew that answer, you and I both know.
So do you just have to be quick? You just have to be quick at it.
Well,
We're seeing locally, a lot of last year was an education year. If you'd asked me what was happening last year,
Yeah,
most
we
of the
just
insurers, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody was throwing this buzzword around. It actually was completely, it became blasé. Everybody heard it, okay, and it actually didn't mean anything. I was with one of the direct insurers, and he said to me, actually, if you come to me with the word AI, I'm going to kick you out of my office, okay? And I said, how so? He said, listen, they're talking about AI. It's RPA and decisioning. It's not actual artificial intelligence, okay? So then you start talking, what's the difference between the two? So education finishes, all right, and now the actual trial and error is actually happening now. So a lot of them are starting trialing little pieces here. Let's try the case study here. Let's see what happens on this learning.
Okay,
That's
so
all
the
they do.
machines are now getting intelligent.
No, you were both
Did you hear
laughing.
the,
I'm not
did you
quite
hear the
sure.
silence in the room?
We're scared about the answer, actually.
they're not yet. Is the short answer. I think.
Good answer. Good
I think
answer. It's a safe
everyone's
answer.
kind of on the same page of they don't, and this is part of the training we'll often do is to say you can't rely on them yet for the decision making part. Unless you have kind of some very bespoke built out tools that are benchmarked and tested and have a process behind them that allows them to get to that. You can't rely on them for decision making, especially people who are just using general assistance. So ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you cannot use them for decision making. You as the human need to make the decision and then get them
Completely
to
agree.
manipulate the information that you
And
give
check.
them.
Yeah.
And verify, and if you don't, you end up in a court judgment somewhere.
I was waiting for you to go.
We knew it was going to
No,
happen.
sooner or later, copy paste.
Wait,
and
before we get into
Okay,
just
yes.
like the legal side, can we just get some more coffee, please? You know when you see a company and think they get it? That's Sapiens. They're redefining what's possible in insurance with intelligent AI-driven solutions that make underwriting, claims, and customer service more efficient. If you're still using legacy systems, it's time for an upgrade. Sapiens is what the future looks like. Check them out at sapiens.com. The problem solvers. Okay, with these innovations, the AI, everything that's coming up, what legal or ethical kind of questions are actually coming up, or what are we seeing in that space?
I think there's a lot of discussions happening, especially on the ethical side. On the ethical side, there's some big discussions about how people responsibly use AI, but also there's kind of some ethical questions around the development of AI and how you responsibly source information for creating these large language models, because they are, they're created by getting troves and troves of data sets.
Yeah.
And not all of those are necessarily ethically sourced, and there's a bunch of interesting discussions going on there, and some cases that are going forth at the moment, especially in Europe and the US. You've then got the entire copyright discussion.
Sorry,
as
what
well.
type of cases? What's happening over there?
So you've got two branches of cases. There are multiple ones, but you can kind of put them into two branches. The one is copyright. So that's copyright infringement, where the data that's been taken to train these models is copyrighted materials. And then there's also kind of a question of the ability to create copyrighted materials. I personally think that's not a very strong legal argument, but definitely the sourcing of... Well,
UK, it's happening in the UK at the moment.
if you want any
I'm so
evidence,
chuffed I don't understand anything.
well, if you want any evidence that the argument around AI creating copyrighted materials is very weak, you look no further than the fact that every major AI development or research institute or provider, so Microsoft, etc., will indemnify you for any claims of copyright infringement in your use of the models.
Well done.
They have massive legal teams who have advised them, and they've all advised them that it'll never be a successful claim.
Wow.
That's why they're willing to give you the indemnity, is the short point. It's a risk management thing, right?
Wow.
But I think there are some very interesting discussions, and there's the New York Times case, which is going forth around the fact that these models were generated off or trained on copyrighted data. And
That's an interesting one.
There's a lot of difficult discussions there. Personally, I think it probably will fall into fair use, but it's a complex legal question.
Ethically,
yeah. The big discussion that I think is now happening, and this is the judgment I mentioned earlier, is so there was a judgment out of the Pietermaritzburg High Court where through quite literally a comedy of errors, what became pretty evident, although nobody was willing to admit it, and so the judge didn't actually say it happened, but everyone reading in between the lines could see what happened, is that a candidate legal practitioner submitted a supplementary notice of appeal, doesn't matter, but a legal document to court, which contained citations to case law that nobody could find.
Wow.
So there was about 9 judgments in total. Nobody could find these judgments anywhere. If you work with AI a lot, you know that when it gives you citations to judgments, they tend to appear in very weird ways and very often they're not real judgments. The principles, funny enough, are often kind of what the principles are, but the citations are not true. There is no. And so this happened, and it's somewhat clear to everyone reading the situation
Understatement.
that the candidate used probably ChatGPT, probably the free version, to draft this notice and put it before
And
court.
got caught with his hand in the cookie jar.
Wow.
Exactly.
In court. Like in court.
What was hauled before the judge and
wow.
asked point blank, did you use ChatGPT to draft this? And she adamantly denied it and said no. It was through a UNISA research portal that I was able to find this.
This is giving me what's that flashbacks to TIA because we did it. Were you in my group for that? I don't know. I can't remember.
No, I wasn't, but I recall.
I pulled an email. I drafted an email on ChatGPT. I mentioned it in one of the episodes previous to this.
Oh boy, here we go.
And I was like, Keba, please check this.
Okay.
They're calling me for an interview. I leave. We get into the task and the judges are in front of us and they literally said that. Like, was this made on ChatGPT? And I was like, yes. Anyway, continue.
Well, this candidate did not take that advice and she vehemently denied it. And that's actually the problem there. Is yes, you shouldn't use AI in workflows like that, especially without verification. And that's the big thing 100%. In any of kind of the fields, but especially in your professional fields, your legal, accounting, consultancy, engineering, etc., is there are ways to responsibly use these tools to improve your end work output. But one of the key principles is you have to verify all the information that's in there. And they clearly did not do this. And the judges reported them to the LPC. In fact, if you search that candidate's name, the first thing that pops up is all the media around this article, around this judgment. And so it has definitely opened up the conversation finally, because I don't think it's the first time it's happened. I think it's just the first time it got caught.
By a judge that's not using AI, obviously.
Well, and so, the interesting thing is if you look at, like the UK has guidelines for the judiciary on using AI as part of their judgments. We don't even have the conversation at the moment within our judiciary.
Not even.
And when you think about the fact that you've got judges who are very overworked, who have caseloads that are unmanageable, I would not be surprised if some of them are utilizing it as part of drafting their judgments.
Well said, Tristan.
And now there are definitely ways to do that in a responsible manner, but there are also definitely ways to do that in an irresponsible manner. See prior points about you cannot use it for decision making. So we don't have that conversation yet. I think we need to in South Africa, but we haven't. But it is being had globally. And I think it's also now being had internally in law firms, but also very much in the insurers, because the insurers are all on the hook for when the PI claims start coming through. And I think there's some serious discussions, and there's also some claims that are starting to happen, and some discussions that are happening specifically on kind of your lawyer PI books, your broker PI books, of people using AI and that leading to negative consequences. So the discussion's starting. But I think we're being a bit slow on actually coming up with guidelines.
So I've got a little bit of time to still use it.
No copy, paste, and check. That's all we can say.
Your PI insurer is going to use this as evidence.
Okay, anyway, moving on. Remember, I have partners and a business. And this has nothing to do with it. Okay?
Head partners.
So, Gary, I just wanted to find out from you, you mentioned what the future could look like in the next few years. what do you think it could look like in the insurance space specifically?
Oh.
You know, what you mentioned the SME and the commercial stuff coming out now, but is there anything else that we should be kind of focusing on? And I'm saying it as a friend.
Good topic. Look, I mean, we've all used this word data to death. I mean,
Yeah.
the reality is. But
Yeah, I said data for many years. So, I mean, now I know it's data. So thanks very much for that, Gary.
Potato. No. No, but the fact is, the insurers that have got good quality data, you're going to see them leapfolding everybody else in the market now. I've seen some of our customers at the moment have done very good programs over the last 2-3 years, getting their data to a point where it's standardized, and then you can play. That's the reality.
Does that just mean integration everywhere then?
Integration, but quality data first.
Yeah.
Okay, but then integration, yes. So calling on ecosystem partners, third-party data vendors, little people that play niche roles in whatever, FNOL as an example, you know, claims fraud and analytics and the like, but little niche party, third-party players that actually add value at certain points within the value stream. So the reality is the insurers that have got good quality data sets, I'm already seeing them, they're accelerating. And they're going to accelerate beyond the standard insurers out there that haven't invested in the time and space to actually get the data in-house into a decent quality standard. I'm seeing a lot of AI-led chatbots. I'm seeing data scraping on documents, policy documents and the like, where taking a document, feeding it through an AI tool, coming out with a quote with the better terms and conditions and the like, giving you prices and summaries, high level. This is all, it's there
I'm
already.
literally
This
just
is already
seeing
here.
more and more
Okay.
golf in my future.
But it
Live
is, that's for the
surfacing of
broker space.
information to
This is
call
crazy.
center agents.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah. And the reality, it's available quick, and it's available now. We're not even
Yeah.
talking about, it's here already.
Actually, it gets me thinking, does this mean that because we're looking at like low-hanging fruit when it comes to AI, the
Completely
mundane
get it.
jobs, the things that we
Completely.
don't really want to. Does that mean that the skill set that we're going to have at a later, or the people that we're going to employ, they're obviously going to be like top-notch individuals then, or highly skilled or highly educated? Because I mean, there's no point to hire the person that's going to just do what AI is doing now. You're going to want a Jason that gives advice, you know, or something like that. What do you guys think?
The impacts on recruitment that AI have and on education, which is kind of next to that,
100%.
are fascinating conversations because they're all ones that actually don't have any easy answers and they're incredibly difficult. Because so on the simple side, I mean, internally with our law firm already, and hint to any law grads watching,
You got to be the best of the best to work there.
well, we've already changed part of our recruitment process to start analyzing people's tech proficiencies and ability to work with AI because we know it's going to be a massive part of all of our future lawyers' jobs.
Yes.
But there's this other really difficult conversation about going from a junior position to a senior position requires you doing a lot of the mundane work to be able to pick up those skills, to be able to learn.
Yes.
So go back to that kind of legal process that I spoke was.
So there's like going to be a whole gap.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because like that legal process that I spoke about, right, in terms of research, that's perfect for kind of AI integrations. Is also the same way that juniors
We
learn.
learned the way. I didn't
You
think
go,
of that.
You
100%,
research that
100%.
information. You
Yes,
might
yes.
see a bunch of stuff that's not relevant to what you're working on at the moment. But 3 weeks down the line, you're like, oh, there's that.
Okay.
And if you're not doing those anymore, well, then how do you become that senior position that we now say is where a lot of the focus is going to be? Because you've never done that junior. The counter argument to this is it's just the calculator argument all over again, right? The calculator came out, everybody said, oh, well, this is going to be the death of people's ability to do addition and subtraction. But in reality, yes, our mental math as a generation is probably way below more senior generations. But we were taught
Thanks
much
for that
more.
insult. I'm just a financial planner. I'm just a financial planner. You know?
The point was that we were
Money's not nuts. Sorry.
The point is we were taught much more complex concepts at school
Yeah.
in mathematics because we could have calculators they're doing. And so it's, we don't know where it's going to go.
Yeah.
And it's,
We have it at the moment. Developer's job.
yeah, software devs
Software.
are.
I wouldn't be spending my time to like spend a lot of time in different software devs now because the fact is that's a lot of the automation's happening there.
Wow.
So in the old days, take you 2 weeks of code, you can do that minutes now, generate that minutes because the fact is it's interpreting your business speak. It's taking a job description, a description piece there, and taking analytics and AI and reading that into the relevant code. And then your job is to go back and revalidate and check that. So again, changing your role. You don't have to do the development work, but now you're checking the piece again. Always the human interaction piece to make sure it's valid and true. But it is changing. It is definitely changing how it's going to operate. So you can imagine how people have spent 20 years in development roles coming to it going, hang on a second, what's going to happen in the next 2 to 3 years? We're seeing it changing already.
Wow.
We're looking at getting our systems quicker, faster, better out to market to the benefit of the insurance companies, because the fact is it's cheaper, because now they don't spend the time and effort because AI is now reading some of the documentation that we actually generate. Data migration. That's the topic everybody loves to hate, all right? Putting AI-led models into data migration pieces now to read and qualify the data sets again, taking the time to market, reducing the complexity and the like, because the AI is now reading the data sets and validating them. This is all brand spanking new. We have our customer conference coming up in May this year, and I'm going to get to see some of the new
Where
stuff.
is it?
It's in Venice.
Oh, am I going?
No, of course.
Okay, cool.
Going?
Just remember, your global head is Graham. Graham, hook me up. Okay, cool. I'll see you there in May.
But really, I'm going to be seeing stuff that the rest of my company also hasn't seen either. So we're just as excited as everybody else to see what's coming next.
It's ironic that you guys are going to Venice because, I mean,
know
with the
where you're
world changing so fast, you know,
Sinking city, here we go.
I'm just saying, guys, I just wanted to, I mean, I could speak to you for another 4 hours probably, and we could laugh and have a few drinks probably too.
Easy.
But I can't. Unfortunately, we only sponsored the coffee. So, so guys,
I'll speak to the marketing team.
Tristan, Gary, thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure.
Absolute pleasure.
Generally, when we close off, this wasn't such a deep and emotional episode like I'm used to from all the other guests that I've had. This was actually this was a great way to spend my afternoon. You know?
I agree completely. Good to
And
meet you, Tristan.
I actually wanted to, because we didn't touch on the emotional and the deep. You guys are in the industry, and I just want to find out what's the passion that you're going after for the next few years. What do you want to drive in terms of this industry? What do you want to change in the industry? Is there something that you have that you just want to share with everybody so they can jump on board and help you out, or you can help them if they want to make a difference too? So you guys can, it's a big question.
He's gone emotional on us now, hasn't he?
Yeah.
No, I mean, look, for me personally, it's one of the reasons why I came back to South Africa. All right. I've worked overseas. I've seen some of the new tech that's coming there. And being part of the Sapiens fold, bringing it back into South Africa and seeing the added benefit that's done to some of the insurers, you know, in the local market, it's a point of pride.
Yeah.
Even better is when I see local insurers expanding out into international waters, you know, OUTsurance in Ireland, you know, Hollard in Australia as an example, and really showing them how it's done. So for me personally, it's about seeing how the insurance piece is evolving, being part of that, being part of the conversation. It's an immensely exciting part right now. Seeing how, when I started this back in the day, I mean, you know, I started back when Aegis, whatever, before it actually got bought out by various different companies. No one really wanted to be in insurance.
Yeah.
It is what it is. It's the truth. But how nowadays, when you look at it and you see where and how we're pushing and how the envelope in South Africa is being pushed above and beyond. I mean, Discovery as an example.
Yeah.
They are next level when you see what they're doing globally. Okay? And that's a massive impact globally. So for me personally, it's just about seeing that evolution piece.
That's awesome.
Bringing the tools from international, bringing them in here and seeing how the local market adopts and then takes our capability and pushes it back out into the market.
Hold on, wait. Your Sapiens name just made sense. Am I right in saying that? The evolution.
There we go.
Oh, my word. Okay, thank you. Oh, okay. Tristan, talk to me.
I mean, it's perhaps not unsurprising to those who know me and interact with me, but AI has been my passion for a while. The kind of impacts that it is having and will continue to have are massive. And although there's a lot of big questions as to things that might be harmful, there's also a lot of known things that will be good. It will, if you think about a lot of the input costs on especially personal lines insurance, right? A lot of that is the administration overhead, right? The managing of those policies is a big portion of that. If we can reduce that, then hopefully we will reduce premiums, which makes insurance more accessible to people who can't afford it at the moment. Which also means you have more insureds, which in turn means you have less uninsured incidents, which means you have better
Market
priced
benefit.
insurance as
Market
well.
benefit.
So
agree.
there can be a lot of impact, and that's an insurance. On the legal side, you've got similar things, right? We're expensive. You made the joke earlier. Right? We're always,
So are we, if it helps.
we're probably always going to be expensive because of the kind of work that we do. But in terms of your personal legal advice that you might need, you don't always need an actual lawyer. You just need to understand.
You need a
what the
letter
legal
to get the guy off
principles
my
are.
back.
Right.
You know?
And that's where, you can start getting, and there are some tools coming into the South African market on that place. So I think there can be massive impacts to kind of the individual consumers, right? So us in our personal capacities from this technology. And I think that really can be the position if we make it so. If we're not careful about intentionally ensuring that happens, though, this technology can run away from us and be to our detriment.
Good word, intention.
Sure.
Right word.
Wow. Okay, so we didn't get too emotional, which was great. But I think that's amazing. I think that we need people that are really looking to the future with some kind of optimism, and actually embracing it. Yeah. And then, I mean, I've seen all these revolutions over time, and we're sitting as a result of all of them. Yeah. And I think we're sitting pretty well up from all those guys back in the day. You've got the English that I'm running out of. You've got the English I'm running.
Life expectancies up, child mortality down.
Everything.
It is. We're sitting at the pinnacle of human society as we know it. And that's kind of one of the difficult things I think for us to often remember as we're seeing all the bad media that's happening. I mean, we're busy recording as we're seeing all the stock markets crash from the US tariff announcements.
Wait, what?
Aren't you a financial advisor?
Hello, I'm in here now.
10 points.
But it's sometimes difficult to remember that not more than 2-3 generations ago, you're probably more likely to die of dysentery than you are.
Excellent. Well said.
And it's difficult to sometimes put into perspective that we are the pinnacle of human society at the moment. And personally, I think things are only going to get better. And I'm personally kind of one of the AI optimists in that I think this technology will do a lot to help our society in the long run improve. Because the other thing to mention I was thinking about is everything that we've spoken about today is stuff that is available on the present models, right? So on the present models, if AI development stopped tomorrow, this is all still feasible and all still possible, and we'd probably still have another 5 to 10 years of just developing everything around the models to be able to do them.
Yeah.
Right? But there's nothing that indicates that's going to happen. In fact, all the indications at the moment are that we're probably still on a logarithmic increase in capabilities. And so what does it mean for our society if we have scalable intelligence, right? We've never had that. Intelligence has only ever been limited to the number of humans we have. And we've been exponentially increasing the number of humans, but there's certain limitations there. Now, if we can detach that and scale that in the same way that we've scaled computational power, what does that mean for our society? Can we start solving kind of some of the central planning issues, right? So there's controversial statement here. I think central planning is the best for societies. The problem is that usually the people that you give control of that central planning become self-interested. And that's where you have the collapse of Soviet Russia, etc. But if you're able to...
Wow. I said we weren't going deep, Tristan.
But if you can detach that and have that given to hopefully a model aligned with the interests of humanity, hopefully, then that could be massive beneficial impacts for society. We could go the kind of Star Trek utopia society, right? The problem is we could also go the Star Wars dystopian society. We don't know yet.
Okay, on that note, Tristan, I think in the next episode we're going to dive into what was found underneath the pyramids. But guys, thank you so much.
You wanted to increase viewership?
We've run out of time. I really appreciate this conversation.
Honestly,
Sabians, Gary,
Absolute
Tristan,
pleasure.
thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you.